To get a rally kill. This is interesting. It literally feels like you're at the festival. Might be able to get a rally kill. Snipers just constantly looking. That's crazy. Just to bear it on deck.
Oh my god, this is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love what you've been doing for the cause, man.
Happy Dad's coming here on the boat.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Journalism Era. On today's episode of Journalism Era, we'll take to the streets of Coachella, California to capture the sentiment of local residents and visitors on their current standard of living. With that being said, it's important to note that on this day of our visit, October 12, 2024, presidential candidate Donald Trump will be holding a rally in Coachella, California. This will offer us a unique opportunity to capture the sentiment of Donald Trump voters on their current standard of living and hear them out on the perspectives that they carry coming into this election cycle. With that being said, for this specific episode of Journalism Era, we've decided to purchase some attire in order to blend in with the crowd. This is an effort to get a more genuine reaction from the local Donald Trump supporters. Journalism Era at this point in time will not be endorsing any candidate for the 2024 presidential election, and our ultimate goal is to remain as unbiased as possible and merely capture the sentiment of local residents. It's important to note that at the time of recording this video, according to the Real Clear Politics aggregate polling, Kamala Harris holds a 1.7% lead in the popular vote over her opponent Donald Trump. While this may seem like an improvement from the polling numbers seen in a Biden-Trump matchup from months ago, it is a far cry from Clinton's 6.7% lead in 2016 and Biden's 10% lead at the same point in time in their respective elections. Furthermore, the final results of both elections saw Clinton winning the popular vote by only 2.1% in 2016 and Biden by 4.5% in 2020. Moreover, the 2024 election will hinge on 7 key swing states: Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. As it stands, Trump leads by less than 1 point in Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, while Kamala Harris holds a slim lead in Nevada and Wisconsin. With all polls falling well within the margin of error, the race remains a dead heat and will likely become more contentious as Election Day approaches. To put it plainly, this election is far from over. However, Donald Trump appears to have momentum on his side, with betting markets reflecting a 53.6% chance of a Trump victory in November. Additionally, Trump is garnering over 20% of both the Black and Hispanic vote, which represents a significant part of the Democratic Party's base. Kamala Harris, meanwhile, seems to be struggling to distinguish herself from the policies of Joe Biden, whose unfavorable rating is among the highest of any modern president, currently at 54%. Both candidates offer drastically different visions for the future of the country, yet both also have extensive records to draw from. Key issues such as the economy, immigration, and foreign affairs are at the forefront of voters' minds as they decide who will be the next commander-in-chief. The Harris campaign often emphasizes that it's time to, quote-unquote, turn the page. Yet, we are still on the page of the Biden-Harris administration. As time goes on and voters become more familiar with both candidates, they may ultimately agree with Harris in that regard. Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy this special report. Thank you. Guys, right now I'm standing in Coachella, California. Right now we're going to be interviewing individuals that are going to be attending Donald Trump's 2024 October rally in Coachella, California. With that being said, as usual, we'll try to remain as unbiased as possible and merely just capture the sentiment of the local residents and visitors on their current standard of living. So without further ado, let's just get right into the interviews. Thank you.
Yeah, but you can hear that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we're going to liberate our country from how stupid are we? How stupid are they?
Okay, so the first question for Dave would, how would you describe your standard of living over the course of the last 4 years?
Well, if you're a high earner, your standard of living hasn't changed much. But for the vast majority of people, with 25 to 30% inflation, everybody's standard of living has gone down.
So in 2019 of August, I moved to Riverside, got a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. I was 22 years old for $1,700 living upstairs. In 2021, it was going to be $2,300 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. Once again, you have to make 3 times the rent, everything like that. Being in my mid-20s, that was really difficult to do. I live with my fiance and my 2 kids. We ended up moving to Lake Elsinore. We rent a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house now with a backyard for $3,100.
It's been very terrible. Our finances are very bad as a result of the high inflation prices. Fuel is unaffordable, food's unaffordable. And as a result, we've been digging into our savings and to a point where we have nearly nothing. We're trying to make a mortgage payment on time as best as we can. We're trying to scrap. We're barely making ends meet, truthfully speaking, under this current administration.
I would say I definitely noticed now that I started working as a nurse and paying my own bills, I've noticed that there's an increase in the electricity bills that we're paying. Definitely taking a hit with all the gas prices increased as well. And of course the increased tax rates in my paycheck.
It's just groceries we're taking the biggest notice in. We're a family of 5. I've got 3 small children, so it went from being within our budget, I'm a stay-at-home mom, to now it's, some months are really hard because we just don't have, the prices keep going up.
Food's gone up, gasoline's gone up. The biggest issue is this immigration crisis, which Vice President Harris has been the czar of that, and she's done an absolutely terrible job with it. I mean, you couldn't have done any worse than they've done. I mean, what do they have, like 15 million illegals coming into this country? That's already a crime, before they do any other crime. And they're all for it, and not only that, but they're giving them all kinds of perks and benefits. I mean, it's crazy.
I do have a good job now, thankfully. It was all on my fiance, which was very, very difficult at the time. We struggled a lot, especially with prices of food, prices of bills going up. So the $3,100 isn't included in all of that, along with interest rates for cars increasing. It just made everything very, very difficult, especially being in mid-20s.
Of course.
Under the Trump administration, we didn't have any of these issues. No high inflation. The food was affordable. Now you go to McDonald's, you're spending $12 on a meal, as opposed to a $5, $6 meal. It's gotten too ridiculous, to be honest with you. Once inflation started going up and we started noticing the food prices go higher, it turned out to, we try to budget as best as we can, but we had to kind of dig into our savings. I had to borrow from my 401 to start making payments, and it's it gotten out of hand. Like I said, it's unaffordable.
Yeah, of course. I would say definitely noticed the increase with the open borders, taking a hit with crime as well. And, I come from a Mexican family and they were all immigrants, but I definitely see how just unsafe the border has been. So that's definitely been a big concern for me as well.
Yep, we just purchased a house. Well, we've purchased within the last 3 years probably twice. And within 1 year, a year and a half from one home to another, interest rates skyrocketed almost by 2%. So it makes it really hard for families who are trying to get out from underneath debt or anything like that. Our border is wide open, and I think what's really disheartening is we have a state and a country that honors those who come over our border illegally more than those of us who are here, who are trying desperately to make a living. They get thousands of dollars and we barely get anything. So it's really frustrating.
Thank you. Thoughts on the border just being a matter of national security?
Well, it's incredibly a matter of national security. It's really our top security issue right now. We have no idea who's here, since they haven't been vetted, and they should, they all need to be apprehended and returned to where they came from. They gave us their criminals and the people they didn't want, so why in the world did we want them?
And trying to provide for a family. Some days we would go giving most of the food to our children and eating very little ourselves on the times that we were struggling, because both of our jobs are seasonal. We're blue collar, middle class. I'm an operating engineer, and my fiance is an HVAC installer, so both blue collar industries.
And it truthfully, it hurts, because we're not saving any money. We're not saving any money. You can't. It's very difficult. It'd be nice if Trump were to be elected, so we can have the prosperous 4 years that we had under the Trump administration, but we don't have that.
For a closing question, regardless of who the president will be in November, what are some policies that you think are the most important for that president to institute?
I would definitely like for them to institute the pipelines again, because that would definitely make a big difference with our heat and gas and electricity prices. And I think just across the board for middle class families, that's kind of the burden that's been the common ground for them.
Of course.
Yeah, I think mirroring her is making us self-sustainable. We are relying on other countries.
Yeah.
We give to other countries, and we expect other countries to give to us. So we're a big target for a lot of the other countries in this world. And so, yeah, I agree with the pipeline. We lived in North Dakota during the Keystone Pipeline build. We were there when it shut down, and the loss of jobs and people who had to really rethink their living situation during that.
First off, Kamala Harris doesn't have any policies. She just says we have a lot of stuff to deal with. Donald Trump has specific things he's going to do, and they're common sense things. So he did it before, and he can do it again, and that's what I'd like to see again.
I guess this isn't really a policy, but just leaving our children alone. My 4-year-old just started TK this year, but just leaving our children alone. My 4-year-old just started TK. The teacher had a pride flag in her classroom. It was a mixed classroom of 4 and 5-year-olds. I ended up pulling him out. I am now homeschooling him, which I feel is the best decision.
I mean, as of I'm from South Central Los Angeles, by the way, and from what I'm noticing, that criminals are getting away with everything. You know, as far as petty theft to like nearly murder. They get released by these DAs like Gascon, who lets them go and doesn't prosecute criminals at all. You know what I mean? Crime has been going steadily higher and higher and higher in South Central Los Angeles as a result. These looters are stealing, basic stores from stores. You know what I mean? It's terrible. I would like to see an implement of the law again. And hold those accountable who commit crimes. Not let them go, not give them a slap on the wrist, but actually hold them accountable.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys again for your interview. It was perfect. Thank you. Have a nice day, all right?
You too.
I really appreciate it because, every perspective we can get is definitely...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to, but I appreciate if that's, you gave a great interview, Obviously, this is the whole point. We're just trying to get the perspective of people out. But, I hope the best for you. And if you want to check us out on YouTube, you can.
Okay.
Okay, it's just...